Welcome to a look back. Today we're going to take a look back at some high-profile people that we lost in 2021. I'm Mark.
And I'm Julie.
And let's kick things off with maybe the most prominent that has been getting a lot of press, and that is Betty White. She just died almost the last day of the year, is that right?
Yes, New Year's Eve day.
The strange thing about that is we not only lost Betty White, but 4 of the primary cast members from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Ed Asner, Cloris Leachman, Gavin McLeod, and Betty. Let's start with Cloris Leachman. She wasn't a regular, but...
Well, she got her spin-off show from that, so it was pretty crucial to her career, but she was 94.
Yeah, and she had an Academy Award or nomination, didn't she?
Yeah, I think she won for the Last Picture Show.
How about Emmys? Did she win an Emmy?
I don't know. But something interesting in her past was that she was a contestant in the Miss America contest in 1946. I thought that was interesting. Also, she was neighbors with Judy Garland.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people probably remember her from Young Frankenstein as well.
And the famous Twilight Zone episode.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the one where the kid sent the people to the cornfield. Yeah, I'd forgotten all about that. Then, of course, Gavin McLeod, and he was in a lot of TV series. He was in McHale's Navy. He was in Mary Tyler Moore. And he became really well-known and famous when he was the captain of the Love Boat.
Yeah, his real name was Alan George C., and he decided that that wasn't a good stage name. So he took the last name of his college drama teacher, McLeod. I thought that was very interesting. He must have really liked that teacher. What a tribute.
Yeah, no kidding. Wouldn't it be great to say that you were his teacher and that's why he took the name? And Ed Asner. Here's another one. Ed Asner had a strong career before Mary Tyler Moore, but after that he had Lou Grant, and then he went into a lot of movie roles. One that he's famous for as a voice actor was in the Disney movie Up.
And then he's Santa in Elf. Also, it's interesting that he got this spin-off, Lou Grant, and it turned from like a comedy role to more of a drama role with the same character.
Yeah, that was kind of strange, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That he went from that lighthearted Mary Tyler Moore into more drama. Well, let's talk about Betty. Betty White. She has become so popular that it seemed like the older she got, the more popular she became, and younger people became interested in Betty White, and she did so many comical roles. So after Mary Tyler Moore, she, of course, did The Golden Girls.
And then she had that other show with Valerie Bertinelli, Hot in Cleveland.
Which movie was that where she led the cow down to be eaten by the shark alligator?
I don't know that.
Yeah, it's kind of a B semi-comedy, a horror picture, I suppose. It was that giant alligator. I'll have to look that up and put it down on the screen. She was just weeks shy of her 100th birthday. And I believe they're even selling tickets to a 100th birthday celebration.
Yeah, I think it's already filmed.
Well, People Magazine, they really kind of jumped the gun. And they said, happy birthday to Betty White. And of course, from the time that's published, she ended up passing away. Now, this is a name a lot of people may not know by itself, Siegfried Fischbacher. But he was half of the famous magician team in Las Vegas of Siegfried and Roy. And, of course, Roy made news years ago because he was mauled by one of their white tigers. But Siegfried and Roy had a really interesting story as well. Years and years and years ago, before they became famous, Siegfried was a magician on a cruise ship, and Roy was a steward. And they met, and Roy had an exotic cat. And he said, can you put this in your magic show? And that was the start of the Siegfried and Roy, which became famous in Las Vegas. Here's one that's both famous and infamous, Phil Spector. Phil Spector was really well known for being a revolutionary producer, and he made what was called the Wall of Sound. And I'm not a musician, so I don't fully understand it, but what they did with the Wall of Sound is they would take multiple instruments and they would play the same melody. And it was almost indistinguishable, but I guess it had a lot of richness. For example, they might take a piano and a harpsichord and an organ and play the same melody. And I know that Brian Wilson was really taken with that, and a lot of what he did was influenced by Phil Spector. And, of course, Later in life, what he became infamous for was he was convicted of murder. And then soon after this year, he died in prison. Hank Aaron died last year at age 86. Hank Aaron was the first person to break Babe Ruth's home run record. He played with the Milwaukee Braves, which of course went on to become the Atlanta Braves. And then he finished his career. He wanted to come back to Milwaukee. So he finished his career with the Brewers. And when I was a young kid, I actually saw Hank Aaron play with the Milwaukee Brewers. So it might have been the first game when he returned, because I remember they handed out pieces of paper there to the melody of Hello Dolly, and we were all supposed to get up during the seventh inning and sing Hello Henry and welcome it back.
Back to the music world, Don Everly passed this year, part of the Everly brothers.
Yeah, Don and Phil Everly really were pioneers in rock and roll music. I think some of the songs, I don't know, I would say Wake Up Little Susie might be their biggest.
Mm-hmm.
All You Have to Do Is Dream.
And he was the older of the two. I just thought it was interesting. He has a famous cousin that we probably all know. Sheriff Roscoe P. Coltrane was his cousin in real life.
Oh, I had no idea of that.
Isn't that
wow.
funny?
That is interesting. Yeah, but they were huge. I believe they started in country music, and back in early rock and roll, they had something called rockabilly, and they were really influential, and they had that harmony that was real strong. And the Beatles have mentioned them as a really big influence in their lives. How about this one, Julie? We have a personal connection. Dustin Diamond.
Screech.
Dustin Diamond was Screech on Saved by the Bell. And the reason I say we have a personal connection is one day we were flying from Milwaukee to a flight going to Southern Florida. What was it going to?
Was it
to Atlanta? And we sat next to Dustin Diamond on the plane. And we had a long, long, long conversation. He was just delightful. And the whole time he told us anything we wanted to talk about.
He was very personable. He was very kind. And he probably already had that skirmish in some bar where he pulled a knife. But interesting life too. Just sort of jinxed almost.
Yeah, and he told us that. He said, it was so hard to get roles. He said no matter what happened, they would say, I'm seeing too much Screech. So he grew a beard. I'm seeing too much Screech. And he said, you almost felt sorry for the guy.
Yeah. And I know he was talking about trying to get into some kind of like animation series, like creating that himself. And I know he was looking forward to him and his fiance starting a family. And then here he got cancer shortly after that then. But I thought he was a positive person to sit with on the plane as compared to some.
George Segal.
He was on TV as the grandpa for the Goldbergs up until his death.
Mm-hmm.
But his biggest signature role is in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Yep, he was Oscar nominated for that.
And he almost did not get that role. It was originally supposed to go to Robert Redford, but he turned it down.
And then he was in Just Shoot Me, and that was a real popular TV series for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know he started out as a banjo player?
Yeah, he started out as a ukulele player, but he couldn't get any band gigs just playing the ukulele. Also, he got that famous part because someone turned it down. Well, later in his career, he turned down another famous role that went to Dudley Moore in 10. He was supposed to be in that, but he turned it down.
Here's someone that's real well-known, I believe, more for television than anything. That's Jessica Walter. And Jessica Walter just had, countless guest starring roles in probably going all the way back to the 60s, 70s, 80s. Probably most people know her most recently for playing the mother in Arrested Development. She was in Play Misty for Me.
Yeah, kind of like the pre-Glenn Close
character
in that movie. Oh, spoiler, sorry if you haven't seen that movie.
It's a good movie. Clint Eastwood plays a DJ in that.
And I found another interesting thing that the building that she lived in on the 10th floor had a fire, and she had to be rescued by a firefighter.
Wow.
Also, she was in all the mystery movies, Banachek, McLeod, Macmillan, and Columbo. She was a guest star.
Yeah, she was a guest star in just about everything. Well, she was in The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How about 104-year-old Beverly Cleary?
a really famous children's author. She was a librarian, and she thought that there weren't enough really good stories for the kids, so she decided to write stories herself. Henry Huggins is probably the super popular character, but it was back in the 50s when things were simpler. She also wrote, after the show Beaver got popular, she wrote some novels of the Beaver characters.
I didn't know that. Well, how about the Ramona and Beezus Quimby?
And the super naughty boy, Otis Spofford.
How about Charles Grodin? Oh my
yeah.
goodness, Charles Grodin was in just about everything.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of those guys that if you watched movies in the 70s and 80s, you saw Charles Grodin.
Mm-hmm.
I always think of him being in Heaven Can Wait. That's probably one of the funniest ones.
Mm-hmm. Real dry sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Going with some of the famous actors, Dean Stockwell.
Oh my goodness, Dean Stockwell started out as child actor, real little kid, and he just never stopped acting. I always remember him, I think his biggest role was probably Quantum Leap. And that's when I think everyone remembers him from. He was another one of those that showed up in all of those guest starring detective TV shows in the 60s and 70s.
He was 85. His parents and his brother were all actors. And this is kind of an interesting trivia. He played Nick Charles Jr. in Song of the Thin Man as a little child. So
I had no idea of that.
Yeah. And of course, Anchors Away, he was a little boy in with Frank Sinatra and Gene Kelly, and then just went on from there. I have another actress that lived to be 95, and I'm sure some of us will remember Thelma Lou on the Andy Griffith Show, and the actress was Betty Lynn. She was only in 26 of the episodes, but she was pretty memorable to being Barney's
That was
wife.
Barney's girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting that when she retired, she went to live in Mount Airy, North Carolina. That's the famous hometown of the real life Andy Griffith.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
How about Charlie Watts? Charlie Watts, the drummer for the Rolling Stones. Besides being a drummer for the Rolling Stones, he really never lost his interest and his love of jazz music. And on the side, he would always do recordings and he would do jobs on the side as a jazz drummer. So Charlie Watts died and he was 80 years old.
I have another James Bond connection. I'm sure
who's that?
We remember A View to a Kill, and the character Stacey Sutton was played by Tanya Roberts, and she passed this year of cancer, only 65. But she was not the first choice to play that role in the Bond movie. They actually wanted Priscilla Presley.
Oh, really?
But that was a good part for Tanya Roberts.
And she was also Charlie's Angel.
Yep. And let's not forget, we lost another one of the monkeys, Mike Nesmith, 78.
And that leaves Mickey Dolenz. Yeah, that was interesting how they threw those four guys together just to make a wacky TV show about a band. And they went on to be successful as a band in their own right.
But Mike was really big in the music video, getting music videos to be popular. The person that I found on the list that was the oldest at the time they passed this year, and that's Norman Lloyd.
Okay, I'm going to guess. I didn't look, but I'm going to guess he was 106.
Yes,
106
Dr.
years old.
Auslander from St. Elsewhere. He was very famous for that role. But he worked with Hitchcock a lot. He was a close colleague with Alfred Hitchcock. Another person that passed this year that was very historical was Michael Collins, age 90.
And Michael Collins stayed in command module, and he was orbiting the moon while Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were down on the surface. You know, one of the things that he commented on once was when he was on the dark side of the moon, he was the only person in all of civilization on that side of the moon. All the rest of humanity was on the other side of that moon. So there you go. There's our look at people that we thought would be memorable. And we took a little walk down memory lane and took a look at the people that we lost in 2021. Who do you think we left off the list? Leave your comments down below. We'll certainly enjoy reading them, and maybe we'll have a follow-up. Who knows? Thanks for joining us, everyone. As always, I encourage you to like and share the videos. Leave your comments down below. If you haven't already, please subscribe And don't forget to ring the bell icon. That way you'll know when we post new videos. Thanks for joining me. I'm Mark.
And I'm Julie.
See you here next time.